There it is. There's the beep. So, and I can let this play because it's Marc Ribier and he's awesome. These are the SuperMon minis. Now, you remember those? Well, you've never seen those. Those are the silver ones that I bought. I did the blue and black Platimons. Remember? I fucking gushed about these Korean loudspeakers are the best speakers that have ever existed. Well, here's the little brother. Hi. Those, $6,000. I paid less because I got a used weird set that's only in silver. But these are not much cheaper. Let me stand up. It's weird doing a review from the couch there. I will occasionally sit, but it's like I feel weird. Zeos, 2 gemstones in the title. These are $2,200 without a special color finish. If you want a special color finish, they're $2,400. And they're a 4-inch driver. These are not big speakers. They are teeny tiny. But it actually isn't a 4-inch driver. It's 2 4-inch drivers. And I don't mean there's 2 4-inch drivers. I mean internally, behind this driver is another driver you can't see. And that's wild. And then you've got a port, a giant port. And the box, by the way, each one of these speakers weighs 11 pounds. How many kilograms is that? Like 4? A lot. A lot. I'm going to, I can't disconnect it because I'm on an Orchard Audio amp. So, real quick setup right here. I need to explain what you're looking at. And the best review of these speakers is just to be honest with you. These speakers let me hear the difference between Dacs. End of the video. Just leave now. I'm using them improperly also. I had them on my review desk. I have the near field desk over here where I can put things, and there's a wall and there's panels, and I could have everything sitting here nicely. And they were okay. Like they were clear and clean and concise. They lacked a little bit of low end, but I have a subwoofer. So I was able to integrate it in, and I really liked them. I really liked them. Didn't love them. However, we go back, and I mentioned this and showed this off a couple of months ago. I've had these for longer than I've had the review of product of those and bought those. So everything's happened with those. But I liked these. Until you do this. I call this soft near field. So this is kind of like an advertisement for my own little crazy. I have added a sub. The Kali 6.2, which is a side firing dual 6.5 with a front port. And that is a studio sub. So I get to run my source, which, oh, by the way, just a product plug for Ace Magic. This is their Core i9 microcomputer. And they wanted me to do like a full review. And I'm like, well, I'll integrate it into an audio thing, but I haven't had time to set up like foobar and everything on it. So eventually I'll have that. Probably Ace Magic, if you're watching, I have links to your product below. That'll probably come with me to London for London Can Jam, where I show off the Eris, because I want to have a gaming system so people can try my headphones with games, and that might be more powerful than my laptops. So, back to this system. Thank you to Ace Magic for sponsoring me out to London, even though they didn't know they were doing that, but I've used the computer. It's real fast, but now I got to get games running on it. Anyway, this little setup is super weird. And I've tried it with like RB42s and Swan OS 10s and other smaller speakers and some larger speakers, but it's not the same. Once you get the Platimons, which by the way, are all solid aluminum, like if you were shooting at me, I would pick up one of these and hold it in front of my heart. SuperMon Mini, it's signed Precious Customer USA Z Reviews, because this was a gifted pair to me, because they just said, here's this pair, but if you want those, you got to buy them, so I had to buy those. This is the version 2. I had to send them back to California, because they have a warehouse in California, but they're made in Korea. These are Korean speakers, just like these were Korean speakers. And by far the best sounding passive speaker I've ever used, and I love it, so I bought it. But now these guys, these are a little bit harder to sell. Those you put in a room and you're done. These I've found on a desk and like where you would think to use a small speaker. They sound very clear and very clean, But even with two 4-inch drivers, one internally and one externally in a giant port, they still kind of lack this like impact that you would expect. So I personally would recommend always pairing them with a subwoofer. The subwoofer is $500. And since it is a studio subwoofer, I get to use the foot switch, which isn't a latching, so I have a clamp, to disable the subwoofer and run full frequency response to this, and then release the foot switch, and then it cuts off, I think, 80 hertz and below, and pushes that to the sub. And then I get to plug it in to whatever DAC. And over here on the floor, you can see a Stark Crimson Ultra, which is like his $4,000, Terabad 500 watt per channel amplifier. There's another one there, which just happens to also be connected to Platinum Mon loudspeakers. So this setup was just a little science experiment I did, and I used it for a while, fell in love with it, took it away, and I had to put it back, and I bought custom stands for it, and I got the wooden blocks for it, and I got the things on it, and they're all mounted. When you put these with a wall behind them, you get enough low end, just enough low end to sort of indicate like, hey, I'm listening to music and I don't need to do anything else. But when you do soft near field, which will describe that is, well, near field, they're arm's length away. And there's no hard surfaces. Soft. My legs are soft. What's between my legs occasionally isn't soft, but that's just because of what I'm listening to. So here, where there's no reflectivity, nothing hard, no hard surfaces to bounce off of, and if I put the clamp on this, so we just remove it to just, by putting the clamp on this foot switch, the subwoofer is now off, and it's passing through full range to that. So I put back on Marc Rebillet. It's still missing some of that like low end, like bounce, like it needs the balls. But that tweeter, which... if you showed me a picture of these, I'm like, that's going to sound like shit. Because it's a AMT tweeter squeezed into a metal box with like that much waveguide that it's just a box. I mean, it's slightly flared, but it's still a box that you're trying to squeeze the treble out of. So it's going to be, isn't that going to be painful and harsh? No, it ain't. And also, we have the driver. So this is aluminum coned, reverse, surround, and that's also recessed quite a bit because of the colored plates, and it also has a waveguide, so that is more focused at you. But that's where these speakers, that's why I can sit here and go from the topping, the D90 Mark III, to I'm using currently the Codis Tone DAC. If you don't remember this thing, you remember this thing? I'm using the one with the headphone outs to power tungsten on the go. So just, a little wink, wink, nod, nod, buy one of these. And I can tell you, sitting here listening, without the subwoofer, just as the speakers, that I don't think you could squeeze more mid-range and treble quality out of a tiny speaker. That's what you're buying with these. You're buying a tweeter that is, like I said, is it going to be focused? Yeah, it is. Like a fucking laser beam. But it doesn't hurt. I'm this far from it. There's no EQ to reduce down like the treble. I'm just sitting here. And these two drivers, plus the one in the back, so really it's 6 drivers in this setup, are just hurling what I can only describe as like acoustical depth to me. This is it. This is the most, and the where they're situated, like I had them closer, and then I started moving them farther apart. And now they're here. It's almost like I'm wearing like headphones, like K1000s. Because I could look right ahead at the television. Wallpaper in the wallpaper horde, by the way. I look right ahead at the television if I'm putting on a TV show and not listening to music. And all the vocals are perfectly centered. And all the action that happens on screen and flies off to these speakers. And it's like, wow. Just if you haven't noticed, the Platinums are also quite far apart. And that's because that's where I think they sound best. Perfectly parallel to one another, and as far apart as you could fit them in your space. So now these, where they're floating in the middle of the room, there's almost no hope of them producing a lot of low end. If they were front ported or slightly larger, because even RB42s on their own for $150 will do better bass. It's a wooden cabinet. It's got a restrictive port. I'm trying to not do weird pervy hand signals, but it's a wooden cabinet. It's restricted port, a more high excursion driver. So they're designed to be more of a full range speaker. But holy shit, you're paying $2,000 for a set of small little micro monitors. There better be something they do better than other little things, especially for that price. And I'm sitting here to tell you, when you add a subwoofer, and I would add a subwoofer, boom, take my clamp off. So now we've released the beast with the Kali 6.2, which is not a giant subwoofer, but it is one of the best I've ever used. So now we're cutting off the low frequencies to these, so they wouldn't even try it, pushing them here. We've got our DAC here, got our amp on the side of the couch. I put that music back on. When I first started testing Dacs with this, I got excited because I'm like, oh, I could hear the difference in Dacs. Let me go get some of my favorite ones. And I brought over a JDS Labs, like the little separate Element 3 DAC. No, it wasn't Element, it was the EL DAC balanced. And I hooked it up to this, and it was flat. There was no depth. And I went, oh my God, I can tell when a DAC has depth. And I've never been able to do that with a headphone. So the fact that I can listen with these specific speakers on a clean amp, because you can play with any amp you want. I got tube amps over there if I wanted to really try to press my luck. I don't think 8 watts a channel would make these very loud. But with the cleanest source possible, or the cleanest amplifier source possible, and these speakers integrated in with a nice clean subwoofer, and this is a studio sub, so it is designed for flatness. In this sort of area, in this sort of arena where everything is flat and I've got my soft pants on, I can actually hear the difference in Dacs. Do you know fucking how hard that is for me to grasp the concept? Like all that shitting on the Hollow May and stuff, when I was trying to assess it with Stax headphones and other headphones, people have told me for years, oh, Zeus, you really should assess Dacs with speakers. And I didn't understand it. And I think the problem was I just didn't have speakers like this. Because, listen to Swans, which are built-in DSP, and so our boot cards are built-in DSP, and I've had a couple really good passive speakers. Obviously not levels of the Mon until recently. But I'm sitting here, and I'm like, you know what? Cottis Tone DAC doesn't have a lot of forward depth. It's more of a spacious soundstage thing. That is the real truth. I pulled this out and I had it hooked up upstairs. I'm like, God damn, these speakers sound good. But now here in the DAC testing, I can actually tell you, I could draw the shape of the DAC. Because I always talk about the shape of sound. And usually that has to do with speaker positioning. If you put a speaker high, put a speaker low, against the wall, away from the wall. If it's tilted in, if it's out. You can do so many things for free. Just adjust height and depth. And all this is an adjustability that has cost you nothing until you decide and you buy a wooden block for it. But for a speaker to actually show me the sound shape of a DAC, and this is partially due because of cleanliness of the amplifier I'm going through, but to show me like all the topping, this one is good. SMSL, all the $1,000 SMSL DACs are better than the other ones that are below it. I could say that with conviction now. I hate it because it used to be that all DACs sound the same, and they do. On headphones, most DACs sound the same. There's slight differences when you get like really crazy, like R2R or the EF600 from Hi-Fi Min, where they're really got a real warm profile to them. They're changing sound so much that you have to take note, even on a headphone. But the minute little subtle changes in a DAC, this is where I'm gonna. This space will never go away now, because I need to be here. This is where it's going to happen. And these speakers are the only speakers that have shown it to me to such high degree. I don't think anyone can grasp how important these speakers are. They're $2,200. Yes, they're fucking pricey. And I don't think they do enough bass on their own. Although there was a demo. I've spoken about this from the Capitol Audio Fest when I first heard these. They had these in the middle, and they had those outside, and they had their the bigger version of these. These are the SuperMon minis. The SuperMons are this same design with a second driver. But now imagine is it an 8 or a 10? It's huge. It's $25,000 a pair. It pales in those pale in comparison to the price. I like the Platimons more sound-wise than the SuperMon, but it's also I liked most things more in my own space than I've heard out shows. So this speaker, with whatever tech they've got going into it, and whatever engineering they've got going on, just happens to be the world's most revealing speaker. It's the most revealing speaker. And it's just like the Platimons where it's not colored. The big thing I've learned from experiencing the Platimons and buying them and having the Orchard Audio Stark Rimson amplifiers that are not voiced at all and not colored is that once you remove all the color from your gear, other than the actual orange and blue, which they did. I wanted red and blue, and they're like, the closest we got is like peach orange. I'm like, cool, I'll take it. The thing I've learned from that is that once you've eliminated like distortions with your speaker, the design, with your amplifier, the design, if you find the correct DAC, then you can start actually listening to your music again. When I sit here, it isn't just to test a DAC. I find a DAC that I like and I leave it. I would probably swap the tone out for something else. Maybe something else powered by the Ace Magic Computer, Core i9, under $1,000 little microcomputer. It's great. Just going to keep pimping it, and then I'll do it in a couple of videos, and maybe you buy one. Maybe you buy one. It really is good. But I end up just sitting here and watching things, just watching TV shows, watching anime, listening to music occasionally, just because I'm no longer concerned. It's the same. I'm giving the same reason I love the Platimons and bought the Platimons. It's because once I had those speakers, I didn't have to think about it. Put them on that amp. I don't have to think about it. That amp has no color. Those speakers have no color, but not in the boring, sterile way. All that was left is the music. So I sat here listening to just the music. Now back up to where we have these SuperMon minis. And it's back to, and I'll shuffle now. I'm not interested in the speakers anymore. They're 11 pounds. These, by the way, are magnets that are covering the things, and they will occasionally stick to stuff and pull off, so you got to be careful. I can fat your way. This is metal, right? There you go. There, I stole one of the magnet covers, a really thin magnet. So you can see the little screw under there. Be careful when you're dealing with these. I put them face to face and they stole each other's magnets. But these are the type of speaker, and if you're an audiophile and you want to spend $2,000 and obsess over your speakers, these are not for you. You put these in your space. I would personally add a subwoofer to them just to fill out the low end completely. You put clean amplification, and then you fucking ignore them because you've got music to listen to. That should be the end result of everybody who's a fucking audiophile needs to stop with this whole Maxell audio. Oh, look how fancy my cables are. Look at my fancy monoprice hospital cable. It shouldn't matter. Your goal should be, as an audiophile, and yes, I'm telling you what your goal should be, to get a system that you trust and that you don't have to worry about. And that once it's there, you can sit back and hit shuffle and just pay attention to the music. Right now, I'm not hearing. In fact, I'm not even looking at the speakers. I'm staring at that wallpaper. These are off to the side. You can't even see them on the camera, I don't think. It's not wide enough. These disappear. They're over there. They disappear. Those speakers, they disappear. All I want is the music. And I don't think another speaker in this house, besides maybe their bigger brother, the Platimons, I don't think a speaker can do that as well as these do that. I've tried to review these for like months, but in my brain, I'm like, what am I going to say about them? Because in a separate system, on a desk, just with music playing, there's not much to say. Like, the music happens, but once you get them into their perfect position, and you've integrated them perfectly with some low-end extension, and you get them just placed, all you care about is the music. That's worth the fucking Nobel Prize for audio, as far as I'm concerned. By the way, they are taking full advantage of the 500 watts that are now available to them. They are not easy to drive. Let's just put it that way. 4-inch drivers automatically aren't easy to drive because they're so small. So now you have 2 of those and a crazy crossover network and a super tweeter. So it's like the balance of easy to drive and small has always been like, smaller you make it, the harder you got to push it. So I don't think you need 500 watts, but I was running these on the 150 watt Star Crimsons, the smaller monoblocks, and they were fine. I may actually move those from there to here permanently to run these. And then I'd have monoblock setups for this and just test Dacs. I just got a little table here just to test Dacs. Test Dacs all the fucking day. Marilyn Manson. I'm not hearing speakers. I can't even go into the depth and detail of how articulate the imaging is across the plane because I'm not even seeing these. This is how I would review music. I would sit here in this setup and review music, not speakers, not amps. And if I found a good enough DAC that had just enough flavor or just enough that made me happy. It's weird because my whole thing has always been the speaker's the most important thing. And then I kind of came around to amplifiers, and the amplifiers is pretty much the most important thing. A DAC has always been last. But now it's sorted. Speakers are sorted and amplification is sorted. So now the DAC matters. Once I get the DAC sorted, then the music's what matters. Well, the music's always been what matters, but these have pretty good microphones on them. In fact, they're reversed, so because I've been wearing it upside down in my head, I look real weird, like an alien, like the camera lens is between my eyes. And I usually don't reverse the audio, so if I apologize. But if I just sit here with the stereo microphones pointing at those and just play music, you got to be able to hear what I'm hearing. You're right here. And what you're hearing is just the cleanest. It is the IEM equivalent of speakers, where IEMs don't have to worry about your cup shape or the pads, because you're getting so close into your ear, to your actual ear canal, where it's removing all the concerns that you have with the speaker system in its room. And then you have the headphones and there's the pad shape and then you get IEMs and they're basically touching your inner ear. These are the speaker equivalent. Soft near field, where there's no reflection surfaces to deal with, and I might even put like a curtain here. And just these speakers. And I'm just hearing music. Fucking Rob Zombie. We're getting into it. We're getting into it with my music today. Oh, don't know if I do this. You hear that trying. They're trying. They can't. They can't produce the low end that a subwoofer can. And the creator of these, Jun, who I've met, doesn't believe in subwoofers. In fact, the speaker stands he's developed for the Mons have more drivers in them. They're not a subwoofer. They have more drivers than a super tweeter, but they're $11,000. So I would personally just say if you need more bass in a speaker, just get a subwoofer. But if he doesn't believe in it, he doesn't. So then you get perfectly legit. So you do that. And they have a whole other depth of sound. I'm going to have to end this review because I just want to sit here and listen to music because I haven't had this set up with the Orchard for more than like a few hours. I had it set up on a Thompson stereo amp, which is a good amp. It's a good amp. But it wasn't that. You put these on the cleanest amplifier you fucking can, which in my case is an Orchard Audio. And then you just remove the room by making a soft near field. And then you're just left with your music. The fact that I'm just left with my music is the best praise I can give a speaker. And I gave it to their big brothers too. I did the triangle like Antal 40th, and there you are focused on the speaker is making it sound like this. It sounds like a giant wooden cabinet playing this soft French defined thing, and that's what it turned. It glazed your songs and your music with that air of French luxury. And I think I don't know if it's a Korean specific tuning thing, because there aren't many Korean speakers I know of. I heard some Taiwanese speakers recently that were very treble sharp, and that was like their thing was treble. But I think these just don't exist. You're going to spend $2,200 to have speakers you never think about. If that's what you're into, join me. Chromatics. What the hell is this? Sweet Jane from Lou Reed. Oh.
Sorry we were late, but we were just tuning.
Which I'm pointing, but you're hearing it backwards because the microphones are backwards. These speakers are spectacular. Their level of detail retrieval is otherworldly. But I wouldn't just get them and set them up on a table and be like, I bought $2,200 speakers and they're over there playing. These are not for that. You have to respect where you are with them. To get the most out of them, you've got to be within arm's length. You've got to be clean amplification, and you've got to be focused. Because you're not going to appreciate them otherwise. And the reason they're laying down is just because it fits better. I find laying down speakers gives me a little bit more tunability. They have to be perfectly flat. Like if you twisted them, then you would get the tweeter before the woofer. So they have to be basically pointed straight at you to do this. But yeah, these.
Few people understand the psychology of dealing with a highway traffic cop.
He's in my fucking eye. Like, fucking, what the hell? Johnny Depp. What's his character's name? Oh, shit. I know this from Fear and Loathing. Who's the guy? He's famous. Hunter S. Thompson. Hunter S. Thompson is... I'm in Hunter S. Thompson.
Your normal speeder will panic and immediately pull over to the side.
And the car, like, burbling. It's like, I'm just, like, where is it coming from? There's no positioning. There's no, like, that speaker or this speaker or that sub. It's all just... If you're ever in my house for whatever reason, please ask to sit in the soft near field. Because you're not going to believe it.
This is wrong.
It's so nice. Anyway, I'm done. Oh, the imaging of the fucking... Patreon subscribes to support this channel. Thank you to Ace Magic for sending their computer. I will get it hooked up because I'm going to need to test it to see if I can get things going for Can Jam London, because I could pack this in my suitcase and maybe not my giant laptop that's like 9 pounds. Because I don't need it to be a laptop. This will be fine as long as the power supply, which is here. And, how big are you? You will take 240, so I can plug you in your 19 volt, 6.3 amps. So yeah, this will probably come to London Can Jam. It might even act as a Rune server if I decide to do Rune stuff. But yeah, Patreon subscribers to support this channel. So I want to thank Mon Acoustics for sending this out and selling me those. First, $5 a month. See reviews early. Participate in yard sales. Hear lossless sound demos. I haven't sound demoed these yet. I don't think. Did I? I got to double check. It's been a couple of months since I've done sound demos. Like, I fill them in, though, when I do get them. So, yeah, $5 a month lets you do those things. $10 a month behind-the-scenes Telegram chat where you could ask me questions directly and get into a lifetime swap meet channel. So if you want to buy, sell, or trade gear at any point from here to the end of time, you can. I'm going to go back to listening now. That wallpaper available also in the Horde. Don't forget to check me out London Can Jam, where I'll be premiering Eris. It's coming out the 16th of June, which probably happened already, considering that's tomorrow as the recording of this. But yeah, check out Eris. Check out my other collabs. Thank you for supporting this channel. You know, fight the power and fuck. It sounds so good.